Welcome, everyone. If you already know English, but still translate in your head, this inner speech sprint is for you. Over the next 30 days, you're going to train your inner voice to choose English first, especially for work. That's why it's called the business edition. The plan is practical. It's short, it's repeatable, so you can fit it into busy days and see steady progress, right? After all, if you're a business person, you're busy. This is going to be a perfect plan for intermediate and more advanced non-native English learners. So let's get started and transform your mental processing speed and build unshakable confidence in professional English communication through daily micro practices. Why think in English? Well, there are four reasons. The first, speed and confidence, right? Thinking in English removes the translation delay that causes hesitation and awkward phrasing. When your inner voice switches to English, you'll respond faster, sound more natural, and feel calmer in meetings and in emails. It'll be demonstrated in your emails. So this isn't about perfection. It's about building reliable fluency, what I'll call a fluency reflex, right? So you'll have better recall. You'll improve your memory and natural phrasing for authentic work situations and business contexts. You'll be less stressed. You're going to stay calm and feel calmer. You'll be more composed in meetings. And you'll be better able to have email exchanges that make sense in the business context, free from being overly emotional, which then would lead to, of course, not being understood. So you want to be free from that. And you'll be able to make quick responses that will sound much more natural. And this will have lasting impact because you're looking to build a durable habit foundation that you can extend well beyond the initial 30 days. So we're going to get you set up for 30 days, but you're going to continue the habit, continue the strategies, so this becomes part of who you are and you expand your English speaking capability beyond what you even thought it could be. So how will this work? Each day, you'll do 5 1-minute micro moments, right? So that's just 5 1-minute sessions that are going to happen in your day, right? And throughout the day, you can say. And this is to plant the seeds of inner English speaking. One real no translation task, right? So you want to complete one real or authentic no translation work activity daily to build practical fluency. Now, you can do this because you're going to be engaged in something called voice note practice. So voice note practice is interesting because you're going to create a 45-second voice note, right, every day for immediate feedback and skill upgrades. Right? This will represent something that will implant itself into your mind, consistency and repetition. These are going to create large gains, and these large gains will translate by simple, measurable, and focused business outcomes. So you're going to monitor words per minute. You're also going to monitor your hesitation patterns. And then you're going to upgrade your phrases. And this is going to result in true progress for you. So let's look at the habit science and look at honest expectations. 30 days are going to provide a strong start. It's going to kickstart a habit. right? And don't worry that it's going to slack off after 30 days. It's not, right? Longer practice deepens automatically, right? And it's going to do that through full automaticity, which requires additional time and consistent practice. So having a little bit of discipline is going to be the key. Consistency over intensity. Small, regular repetitions consistently outperform occasional marathon, long sessions for building lasting neural pathways. Right? So these big, long sessions that some people do might make you feel good, but it's the regular 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes daily that actually shows the real progress. And you want to track things weekly. You want to monitor simple, measurable signals each week. And you want to take a good close look and you want to observe where your real improvement is. And then you want to make sure that you're recognizing this genuine improvement because that is going to fuel your motivation. You will be able to maintain discipline, intensity, and motivation that way. And remember, this is about momentum, not being perfect. You want to focus on building unstoppable forward progress. You want to have momentum rather than achieving flawless execution from day one. Mhm. So I'm going to paraphrase here. There is a phrase in English that says perfection is the enemy of the good. Sometimes good enough is good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's look at the daily structure, 5 times 1 minute reps. So pre-coffee, one of my favorite times. Narrate your morning setup routine and priorities in clear, natural English. Email opening. You want to put some planning in place for your daily priorities, not just things that you might do that day, but priorities. And do that in English before diving full steam into your inbox. Take a commute walk break. And what I mean by this is don't take a walk and stare at your phone. That's not, you don't want to do that. Take a walk, describe your surroundings or upcoming plans out loud while you're walking, right? And even if you do have your phone, you can hold it to your ear, or if you have earbuds in, record what you see, but make sure you're very tuned into everything and look at it and take it in. This is going to actually allow for some incredible implanting of your thinking process as it pertains to English. Pre-lunch check-in. So you want to review your morning progress and then have a very clear goal for your afternoon. And then let's call it daily shutdown. You want to summarize your accomplishments for that day. And you want to do it in just 2 focused sentences. Why only 2 focused sentences? Because that will allow you to think in English to wrap up your day. So let's take a look now at the no translation protocol, right? Or as I call it, the work edition. Right? You want to pick one real task, could be calendar planning, a meeting recap, or a quick reply, right? But do it entirely in English, right? Entirely in English, because this is part of your English only mode. And part of the protocol is to think and speak exclusively in English for the entire task. All right. without mental translation. So you notice everything has been brought down to small chunks or small bits that you can easily do. But these bits will start to gradually work together over the 30 days and beyond. And strategic L1 bridge. And if you don't know what L1 is, that's referring to your first language or your native language. You'll find some teaching environments that discourage the L1 bridge. I'm not one of them. I think it's absolutely needed. Use your native language briefly as a bridge, just briefly, then immediately return to English because sometimes you're just not going to know something. And so better to know it and move on than to be stuck trying to figure something out that would be so much simpler if you just thought about it in your native language for a moment and then move forward. Right? And then English summary. You want to complete with a concise English summary that will reinforce and really lock in all of this new learning that you're doing. All right. So you want to reinforce and lock it all in, all of this progress that's come about. Now let's look at the AI co-thinker and voice notes. Daily recording. All right. Remember, I referred to this before. Record a 45-second voice note about your plan or whatever your story is, or micro story. Then ask an AI or coach, right, if you have a coach, to reformulate it and give one upgrade phrase, right? That way, you're going to receive a polished phrase, right? A polished version of your thoughts. So this is a learning tool. You're going to think about it in English, record it, and then get feedback on it to make it more polished if necessary. Phrase recycling. So actively reuse your new upgrade phrase in multiple contexts. So you don't want to make the mistake of learning something new continuously, but not letting it take root, not letting it implant into your thinking process. So actively reuse your new upgrade phrase in multiple contexts the next day for deeper, better integration into your thought process. And then fast feedback loops. These are what we will call tight, immediate feedback cycles that will accelerate and push forward your fluency, right? And you will be more effectively learning and speaking than delayed corrections. So we want to have fast feedback loops. Let's now take it measuring metrics that matter. Well, certainly we want to track words per minute, track your speaking pace and overall comfort level. Comfort is important also during English conversations and even presentations that you have to make. Take a look at your hesitation count. This is something that English speakers, native English speakers should do as well because they easily fall into the trap of and long pauses, right? A proper pause is a good thing. An overly long pause is not, all right? And so you want to measure how smooth you're becoming, how effortless you're becoming, right? And your natural flow. You want to upgrade your phrase bank. I mentioned this before. Build a collection of reusable, high-impact professional language or phrases for various business contexts. I do this for the languages that I learn. Right? In fact, I do all of these things for the languages I'm learning. That's why I'm sharing them with you. Now, if you're finding this information helpful, please do give us a like. We would appreciate it. Thank you. 1 to 5 confidence rating. Self-assess your comfort level weekly to track important mindset shifts and also to measure your growing self-awareness and self-assurance. Let's look at week 1 now. Build the habit. This is days 1 through 7. This is the foundation. Day 1, establish a baseline, right? Record your baseline voice note. Remember, now we've talked about it, so now you're going to do it. Record your baseline voice note and choose a reliable daily cue to trigger your practice sessions consistently. So you want to pick phrases that are going to be important to you. There's, of course, a lot of this is available online and in books and in articles, but what's important to your business activities, right? And your business activities could be academic as well. Email priorities. Plan your email priorities in English before opening your inbox. This is going to build what we call an anticipatory thinking approach, right? So notice we went from day 1 to 3 because the assumption is that day 2, you're practicing what you did the previous day. Day 5, remember, you're skipping that day. You're going to have meeting expansion. You want to start with 2-sentence meeting recaps. We're back to this 2-sentence approach because you can easily get through 2 sentences, even 2 complex sentences, thinking entirely in English. Then gradually expand to 4 sentences for deeper processing. And then day 7, review. Measure your words per minute, right? We talked about this before. Now you're going to put it into play. So measure your words per minute and hesitation patterns. Then celebrate your consistency success. Week 2, business narratives. These are days 8 through 14. These are storytelling skills. So let's look at conditional planning. Plan tasks out loud while incorporating conditional language patterns, like if-then scenarios for complex decision making. So one of my personal things in my learning is that when I'm reading something, right, given that I'm in an environment where it will not disturb others, I will read an article in the language that I'm focused on out loud. I want to hear my voice making the sounds, creating the words, the phrases. Decision explanations. Practice explaining business decisions by outlining available options. Consider the trade-offs and the final outcomes. Mini presentations, right? Deliver focused 60-second presentations on topics you know well to build confidence and pacing skills. Then gradually extend that to 90 seconds, then 2 minutes, up to 3 minutes, right? Over time, as you build more confidence. And if you think 60 seconds is too short, when you don't know what you're trying to say, 60 seconds is forever. So this is great practice. Clarifying questions. Practice asking precise clarifying questions. Then, of course, you want to take a look at your progress metrics on day 14. See what I'm saying? So days 8 through 14 have built on days 1 through 7. Week 3. All righty. It's time for performance under pressure, days 15 through 21. We're going to look at more advanced skills. So numbers and trends. This is where, if this is part of your job, all right, you can explain quantitative data and market trends using precise vocabulary, such as uptick, decline, steady growth patterns, and the list goes on and on and on. I would actually create a word bank of these types of phrases if you're involved in delivering or studying or having to send out quantitative data and things like market trends. Handle objections. If you're in business, you're going to have to handle objections if you're making presentations or having meetings. Respond to objections and challenging questions with politeness and precision. under whatever the time pressure is that you're under. Status updates. Deliver very crisp, very organized status updates that will cover the work that has been completed, the plan for next steps, and any challenges or roadblocks that are in play. And then stretch goals. I love these. Set ambitious but achievable stretch goals for your comprehensive week 3 progress review. In other words, don't do a little bit less than you know you're comfortable doing. Do a little bit more than you actually are comfortable doing. That makes it a stretch goal. And week 4, leadership moves, days 22 through 30. Let's take a look at the pyramid. You want to create influence stories, right? You want to look at meeting preparation. You want to look at document summaries, question and answer reflexes, your reflexes in terms of asking questions and answering questions. Then an executive summary. So the key here is you want to be able to tell compelling 90-second influence stories with clear stakes, all right? Pre-plan your meeting and your talking points. Have an opener, a core message, and specific ask that is going to be part of the meeting. And then summarize documents in 4 sentences. Remember the 2 to 4 sentence practice that we did? And I mentioned earlier. And then along with the 4 sentences, add in some actionable recommendations and practice rapid question and answer responses with executive level summaries. Right. So you want to become, as you become more proficient in your business area and you learn English and your English becomes better, you want to be able to tell persuasive work stories, right? Have the proper talking points in your meetings. Understand clearly how to summarize documents with the recommendation. Okay. Now you want to upgrade your phrase bank. So here's some what I'll call professional power phrases. As it relates to collaboration, align on expectations, quick sanity check, tentative timeline, right? These are great phrases that will be usable. And you, of course, can look at more as it relates specifically to your business as you become comfortable using these. Problem solving. Phrases such as workable middle ground, holding steady, meaningful uptick, all common phrases in the English work world. And then diplomatic language. From my perspective, or would you be open to? In other words, you're being diplomatic. You're asking, from my perspective, I see the situation in a particular way. Would you be open to hearing my perspective on something? And then daily applications. Actively reuse these phrases. You can use them in emails, in meetings, and phone calls, as you provide status updates, as you do your practice or real-time quick replies for natural integration. And then implementation intentions, right? What I call if-then trigger cues. So for emails, if, I'm highlighting if and then, the words if and then. If I open my mailbox, then I think and plan in English for 60 focused seconds. All right, so that's what you want to do. This is your trigger, see? Movement trigger. If I start walking or commuting, Then I narrate what I observe in clear English. See, these are for you, all right? If and then. These will help you trigger the activities. Completion trigger. If I finish any work task, then I recap the process in 2 complete sentences. And lastly, visual reminders. Make these cue reminders clearly visible on your desk, computer, or phone for consistent activation. In other words, have something visual to remind you. So let's look at our translanguaging strategy. Remember, I spoke about L1 earlier, so you want to use L1 strategically. Use your native language briefly for complex planning, then quickly flip back to English thinking. Avoid L1 fillers. Train yourself to use English fillers or comfortable pauses instead of native language gap fillers. So, overly long pauses, things of this nature. Just because native English speakers are using them doesn't mean they're correct, right? You want to use the proper type of fillers. Daily reflection. So every evening or late afternoon, whatever works for you, just think back on when your native language helped you process the situation and when did it slow you down. This will help you adjust your thinking process. And then lastly, your ultimate goal. You want to put your energy towards working to make English your natural default inner voice for your professional thinking. Now, sometimes we have to troubleshoot, so we are troubleshooting common sticking points. I'm too busy for practice. Oh, really? No, you're not. Combine 2 practice reps into 1 session or batch them during a walk. So you don't want to take a walk, stare at your phone. You want to take a walk and take in what's around you and connect that to your English thinking. Remember, consistency is what is most important as opposed to just being perfect. Okay, you feel shy or introverted about speaking. So use a low voice or whisper during practice, not during live speaking, but during practice. Maintain consistency. This is going to be the most important thing. Volume level is not as important as being consistent and making sure that you're on target with your learning. Limited vocabulary, holding me back? No problem. Focus on describing processes and actions. In fact, you're currently doing this. You're doing it now as you go through this lesson. This will build practical, usable language. Getting stuck mid-sentence. So this can happen to anyone, including native English speakers. So recycle yesterday's upgrade phrases in today's practice. Remember, we skipped a day. So this is one of the reasons you do it. And you want to upgrade phrases or recycle yesterday's upgrade phrases in today's practice to maintain forward momentum and build confidence. So let's conclude and look at our next steps. We want to keep our momentum going, right? You've already successfully kickstarted your inner speech transformation or your inner speech sprint. So now you want to do that and continue to practice up until day 66. Yes, I said up to day 66 because you're going to go beyond 30 days and beyond for lasting results. Weekly measurement. Continue to measure your progress on a weekly basis. You want to keep track of the words per minute, any hesitation patterns that you notice, we'll all have them. And then measure and see, acknowledge and celebrate your growing confidence levels. Expand your bank, not just your financial bank, but continuously grow your upgrade phrase collection and actively reuse these phrases in daily professional communication. real-world application. Apply this proven protocol confidently, right? So when you're in a real meeting, apply it. That's what it's for. And when you're doing email communications, apply it. And when you're doing quick replies and Q&A, apply it, all right? So I hope this was helpful. That's all for today. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Your comments help us help you. Good day, everyone, and I will see you next time as we continue our linguistic adventure together.